Yo, guys, this is Sundown Rider. This is going to be a 2-for-1 special today. My Hero Academia or Boku no Hero Academia 160 and 161. Highway and A Bright Future. Now, A Bright Future came out, was it last night? So I didn't have really enough time to release it, so I'm going to release it now. But Highway Highway was released like a week ago, and I just couldn't get around to it, and I'm just going to do it now. So let's go right into these chapters, because Highway didn't actually have much going on in it, but it was really, really dope chapter nonetheless. I'm sure you know all this already. So it seems the League of Villains may have actually been after Eddie. We get that right at the beginning when Toga's like, oh yeah, we didn't manage to get hold of the core child. And I was like, okay, shit, so they were after Eddie. So that was like, okay, that's a big plot point, because they might come after Eddie more and more in the future. And seeing as Eddie's currently being quarantined in the in the hospital, as we found out in today's or yesterday's chapter, they might be still pursuing Eddie. We don't know where Toga or where Twice are right now, so that's still a big issue. But they were after Eddie, kind of. But they managed to get a hold of the serum and the quirk erasing poison type thing. We saw for the first time in Highway our sand hero Snatch, who was cool as all hell. He was really cool. Someone who it looked like he could change the top half of his body, his torso, into sand, and then use that to buffet or attack someone, you know. So he was really cool, but he got wrecked because the heroes and police were stupid and foolish enough to only guard Chisaki and a bunch of the other 8 precepts and stuff with one hero, even though they knew the League of Villains was in cahoots with them and will probably come and do something. They'd probably try and release them, but obviously Shigaraki had other ideas. And they also paired up the serum and the quirk stealing poison type thing. I forgot what the word for it was, but the quirks erasing bullet. They paired that up with Chisaki, so it's actually with him in that little van thing. So Mr. Compress, Shigaraki, and the League of Villains have actually acquired it. And I was like, really? Like, that's actually a really stupid plot point. I was like, these cops are actually stupid. They're actually stupid. They paired all that up with Shigaraki, and now we're screwed because Shigaraki's got a hold of the medicine and stuff like that. So then we see Mr. Compress, and I was like, yo, this guy straight freaking snatched off Chisaki's arm. Like, his left arm just gets compressed into that little ball, and like his wrist is still attached to that whole cuff thing. So his left arm is basically just gone, and I was like, yo, shit. That's his arm has just been destroyed. And then we have Shigaraki with his madman speech, whilst cutting off a deteriorating Chisaki's arm. And that was crazy, that whole speech where he's like, you can't even lift a finger because you don't have any. I was like, yo, shit, this guy. And this whole like sum up really shows how much Shigaraki as a villain has matured. You know, he waited while he infiltrated the Yakuza and stuff like that. And then he caught the mastermind behind it all, which is Chisaki. Stole his work with the quirk erasing bullets and the serum, and he disabled Chisaki permanently. You know, he actually he was making fun of Chisaki because like, you want this world to be quirkless and shit. I'll show you quirkless. So he ripped off both of his arms basically, and now Chisaki is quirkless because his quirks ran through his hands. So that's all madness. You know, I was like, yo, this is crazy. So then we come to yesterday's chapter, 161, A Bright Future, where we start off with Nejire. Telling the heroes and possibly the media that Deku's awareness to minimize damage whilst fighting Chisaki was amazing. You know, that he made sure to concentrate all the damage around the already damaged area so that he didn't cause any more damage. And this might have some media backlash with them finally recognizing that Deku's a badass. You know. We come onto the topic of Deku's arms. Now, were they or were they not healed? Now, the way the doctor phrases all this is weird. You know, he says everything about Deku is fine apart from his arms. He says something's wrong with Deku's arms, but the doctor is shocked about it. Now, when I first read this, I thought, hey, because the doctor's shocked about it, like, we already know that Deku's arms are messed up. So when he says that something's wrong with your arms, and then he says something like, oh, but why are they so? And Deku's like, yeah, don't worry about it. I thought it was the doctor thinking, like, how did your arms heal so fast? Or what the hell happened to cause them to heal? But I think the doctor, after rereading it, is just shocked about how much damage Deku's arms have sustained, and he just isn't aware of Deku's situation. He's not attended to Deku before, so he's just like, yo, shit, what the hell have you done to your arms? And Deku's like, don't worry about it, you know, this is how they are. So Deku's arms may not have actually undergone any form of healing due to Eddie. We then find out in that hospital that all the heroes are fine, even Rocklock and Aizawa. Aizawa just had like 10 stitches or something like that. And then we had the situation with Eri where she's being quarantined, like I said before. Now I think the whole situation with that is good because it needs to be like that. But seeing as Aizawa says her abilities only work on living things, I don't see how they're going to utilize her abilities in the future. I don't want her to be one of those characters who's introduced, had an awesome quirk, and just because she can't control it, I've forgotten the author's name. But is it Norikoshi? And Norikoshi just gets kind of forgets as the manga goes on. So I hope he doesn't do that. I hope he actually comes back to Eri and utilizes it in a big way. She will no doubt need to be trained, but the UA and their sciences, they'll find and they'll devise some form of like entity or doll or something like that she can use her powers on and train. So otherwise, she's a huge liability. She'll get rid of half the heroes that are working with her. And then we come obviously to the big part of this chapter. If you haven't read the chapter, please read it. The whole Night Eye scene was emotional as all hell. I was like, yo, shit. I didn't expect this to happen because Deku says at the beginning of this whole arc, he's like, yeah, this was like the beginning of my apprenticeship or something like that to Night Eye, suggesting that he had a longer apprenticeship with Night Eye. He said something along those lines that hints his apprenticeship with Night Eye was really long. But it's not long at all. So seeing All Might feeling the shame of never having talked to his sidekick, his best mate again until seeing him on his deathbed was really moving. And we know the reason why All Might basically was continuing to be a hero after Sensei damaged his internal organs and damaged part of his lungs and everything like that. And Night Eye was having none of that. He's like, yo, I've seen your future. You're gonna meet a gruesome end. Please retire and find the next vessel for One for All. And All Might being All Might, he was like, nah, I can't do that. I gotta stay as the symbol of peace. So they had like a whole scuffle, and I think it was a verbal fight more than anything, and then they parted ways. So since that, All Might hasn't really talked to Night Eye and vice versa. So and he feels the shame of having seen Night Eye finally on his deathbed, and it turns out Night Eye is really fine with it, and he's like, you know what? I just wanted what was best for you, and like I'm cool with you never having talked to me and stuff. This is okay. So that was really moving. I was like, yo, shit, man, this guy. But then it turns out that Night Eye was unable to change the future, and I wanted a really solid reason for Night Eye not being able to change the future, and I don't know whether I understand this reason, but it wasn't like as much of a solid reason as I wanted. But it is kind of like, especially when you think about the Japanese mindset and the Japanese work ethos and stuff like that, it does make sense. But I was hoping for something a bit more concrete. So basically, it turns out that Night Eye was unable to change the future every time he's tried to change the future in terms of All Might, in terms of himself and everything like that, because of his negative mindset. Now, if you want to look up something like that, check out self-fulfilling prophecy, which is basically the idea of this is he believed he would fail. He told himself he would fail, and even though it's subconscious, he always had that failure running through his mind, like, okay, this isn't going to work. I'm going to fail. I'm going to do this. So because of him visualizing his failure and thinking about his failure, he couldn't succeed, and he could not change the future he saw. Now, the reason why Deku and the younger heroes changed the future that Night Eye saw was because against Chisaki, they had their own self-fulfilling prophecy, i.e., we're going to succeed. We visualize success, so we're going to attain success, and they did. So it's all about that self-fulfilling prophecy. You have athletes and stuff like that, like, I'm going to succeed, I'm going to succeed, I'm going to succeed, and they tell themselves they're going to succeed, and they succeed. And then you have the ones who like aren't 100%, like, they're like, I could fail here, and then because of that self-fulfilling prophecy, they fail. So it was just that, and I thought there should have been something more meaty there, but it turns out it was just self-fulfilling prophecy, and I think I might have made mention of that in the review or two ago, and I was like, so I'm not too sure how I feel about that right now, but it is what it is. We then come to seeing Mirio in tears at the end of the chapter, and when he's confronting Night Eye on his deathbed, and that was really hard to read through, especially with Night Eye's inner monologue of him like thinking about, I first took on Mirio because he was like the perfect vessel for One for All, and then eventually he just became like my most treasured student. So I was like, oh my, this is like hitting me right in the feels right now. Now, just another thing I picked up on, it's really weird how All Might and Night Eye both have like powers which I think All Might might be more natural in the sense, but both of them have blacked out scleras, which are the whites of your eye, so around your iris. They both have blacked out scleras either through their powers or when they're utilizing their powers, or naturally. You see Night Eye here when he uses his foresight. his eyes black out, and I was like, yo, okay, that's something I hadn't realized before. So then we have Night Eye utilizing his powers one more time to see how far his beloved disciple would go in the future, to see exactly how his disciple would fare in the future. And it turns out that Mirio is still set to become an outstanding hero. How? I really want to see this, because he's a quirkless hero at the moment. Does he get his quirk back, or does he just become a quirkless hero? Some next hard-ass mofo because of his lack of a quirk. That would be awesome, but I don't know if that's going to work. So yeah, so we get all that, and then eventually Night Eye dies. I did not expect that. Like I said, Deku mentioned at the beginning of this arc that he had this longer spell with Night Eye, and I thought it'd be longer, but the little shit lied, you know. So okay, that was the end of the chapter though. So I really enjoyed the chapter. Night Eye died. I was like, yo, okay, this is crazy. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share my videos if you enjoy my content, and let other people know about it. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you guys in a bit.